Gauteng Education MEC Matome Chiloane says it's all systems go for next year's academic year. He said his department has managed to place 99.8% of the online applications for next year's academic year. Chiloane was giving a briefing on a number of issues, including the final matric exams and applications for places for next year. Our reporter Zola Sholwana was at that briefing and joins us now. Good afternoon, Zola. What else has come out of that briefing with the MEC?
Well, Clement, of course, the MEC outlined the fact that they are, close to the end when it comes to learner placements. You've already mentioned the percentage and saying that they are only facing the issue of people that had missing documents, and obviously they are close to getting to the end of that. He also mentioned the issue of capacity in a number of schools, and also saying that the Department of Education is doing their best to deal with that, and also mentioning that 3 schools will be launched in the beginning of 2024 for the 2024 academic year. Clement, you'd understand that Newzroom Afrika paid a visit to Kempton Park, where we spoke to a contractor and saw Maibuye school, a primary school that stood as a white elephant for quite a number of years. And they did confirm that in January, learners will be removed from temporary structures, which are mobile classes, to the new structure in January, and also mentioned that they will be building 10 more classes because you'd understand that the SGB complained about the number, saying that the school will not be able to accommodate learners that are coming from the old school into the new school. But to tell us more about that, we've got the MEC of Education in Gauteng, Matome Chiloane. Sir, thank you very much for your time. I mean, you've mentioned that as a department you are dealing with the issue of capacity, and you said you'll continue launching more schools so that every learner finds themselves in class next year.
Yes, we in terms of capacity, I think we are ready for the new academic year. We have done relatively well this year in terms of starting early, making sure we conclude everything early. That's why we're left with for instance, few parents that their learners are to be placed, and it's quite less than what we had to deal with in the previous years. So we've done significant. So now it's all about collaboration and engagement between ourselves and the parents, having that form of a social contract to say, this is where we are, this is what we are doing in the interim, and this is what we are doing in the long term to assist you, to assist the process. So I think in terms of capacity, we're moving quite well.
Now let's speak about something that you touched on, the issue of late applications, and that parents that have applied late, or those who had missing documents, have no luxury of actually choosing a school, because obviously now what you have done now is an extension of a grace period for them. Yes,
remember the ones that within, it's all about obviously complying. Parents that have complied are sitting at, I've given a number, 270 odd plus number. Those are the parents that have luxury, and they've complied, they've done everything right on their part. So it's left with us to do our part. That's why we have given them, say they can object, appeal. These ones that might have applied on time, but they didn't do their part. So that's why they forfeit this particular rights that these ones have. That's what we're saying. So that includes those with incomplete applications. But we have placed them. They've accepted most of the spaces that we offered them, most of them. And then obviously the late applications as well. They'll have to go where there's capacity. If there's no capacity, there's not really much you can do. We'll always offer the space that is available, because we have to comply constitutionally as well, that a child needs to be placed as well. So it's always about a balancing. But with regard to those ones that have completed on time, they have done their part, we are working around the clock to ensure that we satisfy them as well. So, but it's not a big number, fortunately. It's quite a few number. We're not talking about more than 1,000 learners. It's quite less compared to where we come from.
Mm-hmm. Now, take us through a few challenges that you've encountered during matric exams and how you dealt with that as a department.
No, the examination period went very well. I think we were very prepared. We got the thumbs up from both Umalusi and the DBE that our process went unhinged, except those 3 areas. One impasta, 45 learners with crib notes, and those with cell phone. I mean, those are it's not really much. It's just they are not enough to question the credibility of a process. There was no leakages, there was no disruption where learners have to leave the examination room. Everything just went smooth. Obviously, there were those particular instances where there was threats of service delivery strike, where it could affect the learners' writing exam. So we were able to mitigate in that respect.
Now, talking about the issue of capacity, are we perhaps looking at having more schools launch, especially SOS, like you have done this year as a department?
Yes, the SOSs we are going to continue. We're going to be doing about 6 next in the first period of the year. In terms of building new schools, yes, we have schools that we are completing, and correctly, there are schools that are at 70% completion, 80% completion. Those schools will be completing in the first part of the year as well, the first quarter in the ideal period that we should be able to complete. And those are schools that they are kind of the responsibility of our provincial infrastructure development department. They are going to complete those schools. So we are anticipating quite a number of schools that will be getting early on next year.
Now, before I let you go, MEC, if you could just touch on the issue of Sbusiso Mbata as a department. Have you managed to temporarily replace, staff members after the deputy principal and others were suspended for what happened?
The report, I'll get that report, but in the main, we actioned the recommendation because that's where the last time we met, that we were going to action the recommendation based on the findings of the law firm. And we've done that. So obviously, when we action, we bring contingency, I'm sure. So the district, obviously, I would for sure, I'll be confident that they've done that part because that's part of the things that they committed to do when we were last dealing with that issue. Yes.
Thank you very much, MEC, for your time. Now, Clement, the Gauteng Department of Education has also assured parents that are panicking that their children have not been placed, that they will make sure by January 2024 that every child finds themselves in a classroom and not a mobile class, because the MEC mentioned that they are really trying to eradicate, the culture of mobile classes, and that's obviously done because they've encountered an issue of capacity in most schools. But like you have heard him, he also mentioned that they will be, launching and building more schools so that they don't have an issue of schools that are overcrowded, particularly public schools in the province. Back to you in studio.